Greetings. Come on in the house. Welcome home. We are so glad that you are here. My name is Janice Pons. I am your host on From Destruction to Dignity, Clinical Perspectives, Spiritual Truths. Guess what? We are celebrating today. This is the the recording of this is the one day before 1 year of the podcast airing on God's Royal Network, the Creative Motion television network on Roku, of which I will mention this podcast was ranked the #1 podcast in the category of outreach series. Thank you, Kevin Collier, Christian Collier, and just for doing it. And I think since the podcast has been on, he told me, Kevin, that it's been in the top 20 and more recently in the top 10. So I know recently was number 6 out of 3,116 items to view. So we are very excited about that. And so I say happy anniversary to From Destruction to Dignity. Now, having said From Destruction to Dignity, you see this beautiful woman sitting right here with me, and you all hear me talk about Dr. Price all the time. Here she is in live and living
in the flesh,
live and living color. You know I talk about Dr. Price all the time. I talk about how I honor, respect, and I love her. Dr. Price, is God spoke through her to me about doing this podcast. Welcome, Dr. Paula A. Price, to From Destruction to Dignity.
Thank you. It's good to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Oh, my goodness, for inviting you.
Yes.
I am so honored and privileged to have you.
Amen.
I think the world of you. Had you ever figured that out yet?
Yes.
So many people do, but Dr. Price, you know, somebody described you as a force of nature.
I know. That is my latest epithet.
Yeah. Now, what does a person have to be saying and doing to be a force of nature? All you gotta do is listen to this woman just a little bit. I'm thinking about our last Sunday service. I was just blown out the water, and I was like, she didn't look at one note. She didn't open up one book. I mean, she was like the walking Bible, you know. And I was just, there were moments all I could do was just stand up and look and go, wow. You know, so what a privilege, what an honor. How blessed is the body of Christ? How blessed is the congregation of the mighty ecclesial embassy to have you to be able to teach us, and just such amazing leadership. You know, I have my own story, and I've told that on a podcast. I was sitting at home for a few years, not being in obedience to forsaking not the assembling of yourselves together. What the deal is, I just couldn't be any old place. I couldn't be anywhere. And God had a place for me, and it's here. Yes.
Yes, He did. And you're coming up on a year here too, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Or you passed a year.
I am past a year.
You're past a year.
In February 2021.
Yeah, look at you.
I know. I'm home. It feels good to be home. Yeah. And so we just love Dr. Price. I love being here. And so it was Dr. Price who spoke into my life one day when I was sharing, when I was speaking at the Apostolic Summit about this gentleman. You know, I've told the story. That was the first podcast, maybe the second one. I told about that guy who was going to throw the chair through the window. He had kind of like he was out of it. He was going to lose his mind and go off. And the Holy Spirit used me to reel him in and to really nail him where he was. And she spoke to me afterwards. She said, "You know what you did with him?" I said, "What?" She said, "You took him from destruction to dignity." Whoa, that went through all of my cells and my whole being. And I was like, from destruction. And so, but then I noticed that this amazing woman says things like that. She says things that I'll go, wait a minute, that's the title of a good book. You know, and so you just flow with amazing phrases and conclusions that, you know, it's like, oh, I just got delivered. Yeah, and so that's the power of a powerful person like you.
To the glory of God.
Yes.
You know.
And but
I just cellulate Jesus.
you do what?
I cellulate Jesus.
Now see there she goes.
I cellulate Jesus.
Cellulate Jesus
That's
Christ.
what I do.
Yes. And you know what? That's what she teaches. Now, having said that, that is the perfect lead-in to just something that I encountered that absolutely rocked my world as a clinician. This year, I've been in behavioral health for 42 years, and I've read a lot. I've done a lot. I've started substance abuse treatment programs, mental health treatment programs. I've just done a lot. To God be the glory. I'm so honored that He would give me the opportunity to do such.
Yes.
So I've seen a lot, executed a lot, planned a lot, and I know what works and I know what doesn't work. So when you have a trained ear and a trained eye, there are certain things that you immediately recognize. And I found myself pleasantly surprised when I read your first book, because when I met you, it was like we were talking about the soul, and I was like, she kind of thinks like I do about certain things, because I'm always meshing the clinical perspective, spiritual truths. There you go. Meshing the two together, because there is a marriage between the two that really delivers people and sets them free. I've seen what works. I've seen what doesn't work. I'd rather do what works. And so she was talking about this book called From Distress to Success. And I was like, well, I'd like to read that book. It was the first book of Dr. Price. How many books have you written?
I don't know. 67, I don't know. Depends on what the subject is.
Okay, so she's written a lot of books, at least 50, you know. At least 50. This was the first book that I read by Dr. Price, From Distress to Success. Immediately, as a licensed clinician, it captivated my attention. And I was like, wait a minute. Just wait 1 minute here. And I was like, is she a clinical person? Is she licensed? Is she? And it was like, oh, no, she's knowledgeable and she's anointed and she's wise. You know, and those are just three descriptors that I could use for Dr. Price. But I immediately saw the insight that she had that really captured my attention, very much so. And immediately I was like, this book needs to be incorporated into a clinical design. Yeah. And so that's my heart. And I was like, I would use this in therapy. There were components of it that I would actually use in my individual therapy sessions and in groups. So it captured my attention, From Distress to Success. And it says, a soul restoration plan to take your life from distress to success, an instrument of divine intervention. Now, you all know I'm always talking about intervention, because what I want to do in this podcast is to provoke thought, bring awareness, and point people towards intervention. So that's why on my website, www.janicepons.com, I have that page that is about resources. Now, so because I think like that, I eat, breathe, live, think like that, because that's what I do professionally. There were certain things about this that captivated me. Now I want to frame something, because we're going to dive in, because this time will go by fast.
I know.
Yeah, so we got to capture this. Now, one thing I thought about this, I am such a proponent of the therapeutic process. And I'm always pointing people towards intervention, the therapeutic process. Now, I know that not everybody's going to go to therapy. Not everybody's going to therapy. And guess what? Not everybody necessarily needs it. But everybody would benefit from a structured process that will take them from point A to point B, where they just look at some things. You know why? Because all of us have been through something. True?
Oh, yeah.
You've been through something?
Yeah, my life will live it out through you.
It'll live it out through you. And if you live long enough, you're going to go through some things that are uncomfortable. So having framed this with everybody's not going to get a licensed clinician, what are alternatives? And what I like about this is that, and I'm going to read this because it really captures it. It says, proven clinical therapies should not be rejected and replaced with 3D. Okay. Now, immediately I thought 3D. I said, now this is an adjunct. That's how I saw it initially. This goes along with the therapeutic process as a tool. Okay. So proven clinical therapies, proven such as cognitive behavioral therapy, didactical, EMDR, just these different types of modalities, they should not be rejected. I love that because I have Christians that go, oh no, don't be doing that therapy thing. You said it should not be rejected and replaced with 3D. Clients who are certain that the medical and organic roots of their addiction have been resolved need to obtain written confirmation of this from an authorized practitioner. The 3D process is particularly designed to be a supplement. Listen now, a supplement or a final step in the process. Recovery is a process and not an event. A final step in the process of taking an enslaved life from distress to success. That got my attention.
Yeah.
And that got my attention. Now, what does 3D stand for? What does 3D stand for?
3D stands for decision,
Mm-hmm.
discovery, and deliverance. And they hang on the big D called disappointment.
Wow. What are we making a decision about as it relates to an instrument of divine intervention? What are we making a decision about?
You're making a decision about taking your life back from slavery, oppression, but you also are making a decision about putting your soul back in your control.
Wow. And this is what we see with so many people. Their souls are totally out of control. You all know this is probably the 53rd, 54th episode, and I talk a lot about people that we just see there. It's so obvious that they're totally out of control, fighting the fight or flight. Mm-hmm. And they go off like at the drop of a hat and look for the hat to drop, or it's so impulsive. They have absolutely no control whatsoever. So how do we reel those people in? How do we reel them in? So the three, just kind of share your heart there with those 3Ds and that flow of that framework of what I just said.
The first thing I'd like to say is that 3D, the decision phase, has to do with you being tired of being a victim, tired of being a victim and a slave to your own soul. You're tired of external forces dictating your life and your existence. For example, you're tired of the substance provider. You're tired of the television for hours. You're tired of the binging and purging and feasting and famine. You're tired of all of the things that are seeking to use your body to make your soul feel better.
So the body, the whole person becomes enslaved?
The whole person becomes enslaved because the body is the only thing that touches this world. But what comes in through your body finds its home or its mandate in your soul. Because the reason I say that is because people are not addicted because some sort of strange, mythical thing happened to them. Addiction is an authorization.
Wow. Stop. That's thought provoking. I like that kind of stuff right there.
Yeah, you
I want to dissect that. I want to dissect that. What do you mean?
Addiction is your decision. That's why it requires decision. Your decision to evade, elude, escape, or overall soothe anger, trauma, pain, embarrassment, hurt, or just bruising of your soul. Because the soul is a whole being. We've been treating it as if it's a piece of something. It is not. Your soul is the entire being. Your body is just its covering. Think about the skin on your car and all of that. It's what's under the hood that you really want to work. Now, but we don't want to ride around with that showing. So you decided it. For example, here's a case in point. Addiction is an alternative to some people, but why isn't it an alternative or an obsession for everybody? A lot of people are offended. A lot of kids are abused. A lot of marriages are hurtful. A lot of relationships, jobs are painful. So, but why is it? Here's the decision piece. Why did your soul say the only way to get through those ordeals or to cease reliving them is by bringing a substance in that will calm them or numb the experience?
Wow.
because it's really a number.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So that decision to go time out.
Mm-hmm.
This is the destructive path that I am going. I want to go from destruction.
Mm-hmm.
Is there such a thing as dignity that I can grasp? So the first step is making that decision. So the addiction itself starts with a decision.
That's the point. The point is you have to reverse your own authority. You gave authority to your appetites, to your mind, to your world, to your pain. You gave that authority over to something else. You told something else, I'm done. Hey, just get me out of this. I just don't want to feel it any longer. I just don't want to live this any longer. I'm tired. You can't physically escape. So then you soulically escape.
Amazing. So there's the decision that you're going to go, wait a minute, I'm going down a path of destruction. It's going to lead to death.
But that's not how this started.
Okay.
The addictions actually starts in your youth.
Explain.
Well, you think about how many people who can say they remember, let's say, getting out of what they don't want to do by playing sick. So the addiction is a way of playing sick. I can debilitate myself, take myself off the hook, so I don't have to feel what I feel.
Wow. Wow.
So the kid, I'm angry. I go to my room. Here's another one. These are simple things that you don't recognize, and you do it as a child. So you're angry, you're on punishment, you go to your room, you slam the door. Anger, rage. You turn on the television or you get your device, and for hours, you hide into that. Now, you're a kid. I'm 8, 10, 12.
Mm-hmm.
But now, I'm an adult. But I've already told my soul, when this happened, find me an escape.
So the addictive process started as a child as an escape.
Escape. Or retaliation.
Wow. So, wow. And so I see people in the field that I am, they get addicted to rage.
It's an emotional addiction. We think that bragging is an emotional addiction.
Yikes.
Isn't it? And what does the world tell you to do? Brag, brag, brag. But they want you to brag as long as you don't bore them. Bragging. As you just said, rage, cussing. You like the sound and people's reaction to your curse words. So there are emotional addictions that pave the way for substance dependency. Or they facilitate it by creating an environment where it's okay.
Wow. So with the substance, you have this factor that gets built in where a person becomes vulnerable to a physiological dependence to a mind-altering substance, such as alcohol, benzodiazepines like Xanax, oxycodone, the opiates. So what we're talking about is a person that gets that substance in their body where their body becomes dependent upon it, and they have to use to feel normal.
Now here's where I'm writing 3D2.
Okay, 3D2.
3D2, and I go into detail on that. Excuse me. So what happens is, excuse me, I'm trying not to sneeze.
Okay.
I don't want to sneeze on the show. I might have to cut it out.
You can press right there and the sneeze will go away.
But so here's what the body is. The body is so interesting.
Yeah.
What it does is the body is a responder. It is not an initiator. It's a responder. Now, it has these autonomic things, these automatic things that happen. I mean, I got to eat, whatever. But those are not thoughts. You don't think them until they become distress. Like, I'm starving, I need to eat food. Otherwise, you snack, whatever. So the body gets all of its supply from the soul. And it gets its supply from the soul, which literally chemicalizes everything that body needs to stay healthy.
Okay, like the soul is saying, I want crunchy. I want crunchy. I want crunchy. I want potato chips.
The soul tells the brain to tell the body that. What the soul says is, I need to hear something, or I need a feeling or sensation at this point in time to cope with what you just sent me. Because everything that comes into the body goes right to the soul. Otherwise, why do we give people tranquilizers? Why do we give people, even overeating? What do we say? Something is sending it. The brain does not make this stuff happen by itself. It receives the chemicals. So now, when you talk about that, the soul actually has a mandate. The mandate on the soul comes from the reason it exists, the spirit it exists, and also what the body's, what the heart says makes me feel satisfied and purposeful.
Now, right there, I want to capture this because this just totally captivated my attention. Okay, to liberate your soul, you must break the seal on your own stronghold to uncover not only what happened to you, but why it affected you so drastically or destructively. That answer is key to separating your heart and soul from your addiction. That's heavy.
It is.
Talk about that a little bit.
First of all, let's talk about addiction. Let's say what addiction is, because people think addiction is some sort of physical malady. Addiction is worshipful love and sacrificial surrender to an object of your affection to the point of ritually serving it to feel accepted or at peace.
That's a whole nother level of thinking.
Addiction is not, so the fact that you get hooked on that drug, that is not the addiction. The addiction is you love a particular state of existence and you want to stay there. And whatever the object is, that becomes your devotion. You become a devotee of that object.
Wow. Now I want to, from a clinical perspective, I want to add on to that. When you're dealing with certain substances, because I see people, if they don't take it in, they're going to withdrawal. So they have to go through a medically supervised detox.
You're absolutely right.
To get off of it, like alcohol. I met 3 people that drink 90 beers a day, or there's nothing for folk to drink a 24-pack.
But let's go back to why they chose beer and 90 beers. Let's go back to before it became a dependency. Because the body is adaptable. The whole idea of the human makeup is that it adapts to whatever situation or environment or substances that keeps it going on the planet. So let's go all the way back. I'm 16.
Yeah.
I'm at a party.
Yeah.
We have a contest.
Yeah.
Who can drink the most beers?
Right.
At 16.
Yeah.
I win. What is my reward? Admiration. Celebration.
Wow, all centered around the beer.
All around the beer. So now, that's gone. But the euphoria I got, not just from the beer, but from everybody slapping me on the back.
Attaboy,
Hey, you got it.
Drank them under the table.
That was scripted in the soul.
Oh, wow.
So now, whenever you feel alienated or you feel like you're being snubbed or ignored, what you want to do is find a circle. That's why you go to the beer thing. Find a circle where you can reenact that event. That means I have to always have a contest of sorts. Even if there's nobody in my contest, if I'm the only one, I have to see how much beer can I drink and still stay standing.
This is powerful. There was a lady who approached me who has watched this podcast. And she said to me, it was the first time I heard your show was when I talked about how drinking alcohol causes cancer. And I want to get on down to something that was shared with me. So she said, I'm a very struggling alcoholic in dealing with first stages of cirrhosis. She said she can't stop thinking about that show. And then she said, I've been praying to God for help and I just can't hear him. But then she says, I just can't figure out why I want alcohol so much. Why is it that I can't? She's gone to the rehabs, but she said, I tried for a couple of weeks. I said, did you do any aftercare? No. Then it started talking about other people and what they did. And I said, whoa. Okay, you need to go through a process where you got to look at why are you talking about other people and not you. That's a part of the process. But the person said this that really caught my attention. I have not figured out why is it that, well, okay, I have done the rehabs and the detoxing. Why I haven't been able to do what I haven't been able to do is solve the underlying issues of why I drink.
And that's why addiction's definition has to be understood. It's always veneration. It's always celebration. It's always devotion. It's affection. All of those are in the synonyms and in the definitions of addiction.
Mm.
When you look at it, it's all tied to worship.
Now, see, you coming up a whole nother side of the mountain.
And I've been known to do that.
But it's thought provoking. But these are the journeys. See, you tied that and you gave an insight and a depth of this. I just can't figure out truth. I just can't figure out the underlying issues of why I drink.
Think about it. No, worship. What does worship have? It has to have an object.
Yes.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that important?
Yes.
It has to have libation. It has to have a sacrifice. It has to have an offering. And the last one is the drink offering, the libation. Alcohol is the libation. So we've got to go back down the scale and back down from libation, which is the final thing. You think about how our whole world is based on it. You have dinner and drinks. You have happy hour, drinks. And the drink is just almost like a prop that you use to get to spend time with a whole lot of people who are unhappy. So in her case, she keeps trying to deal with the alcohol. The alcohol is not it. The addiction, affliction is what she wants. Let's go back to when alcohol got her out of something, made her feel better. When alcohol began to take her off the hook, when she was able to have exit clauses. For example, I can get drunk and cuss people out and they'll just say, well, you're just drunk. Or I can get drunk and sleep around. So understand that alcohol is a libation, but it's also a tool or an instrument.
So this is where it ties into where you're saying it all begins in your heart.
Has to. Because in your heart, as a little kid, you made up your mind. I don't care. Some people, their parents made them drink when they were young. Too young to know that they were so susceptible to an addiction. So sometimes it's bad. So you have to go back to that. Mm-hmm. Some people, they started drinking to hang out. They started drinking to have friends. There is that emotional thing, mm-hmm. that reward and that consolation that we have to tap into, because we have to disengage the mechanism that caused that to be your dependency.
Now, listen, I'm an advocate of the therapeutic process. Everybody's not going to go to therapy, but everyone would benefit from dissecting their soul, mm-hmm. to understand the whys, to understand the root, to understand the decision-making processes. So the 3 Ds are you make a decision that you're mm-hmm. going to go there. To dissect these things.
To undo the decision.
To undo the decision. Absolutely, that's crucial. Mm-hmm. And then you discover. The discovery is where the hard work is.
And the long journey.
The long journey. And we're going to do another episode. Come on, you got to come back next week because we're going to dissect this thing some more. You know I'm not going to have Dr. Price here and we're not going to dissect something. Okay. And then, the third thing is the deliverance. Mm-hmm. And in our next episode, that's what I want us to dive into more. Look, I could have her on here for 10 episodes and we wouldn't be done. But what we did, what I like about you, so much I like about you, but you get into the cerebral, right there, mm-hmm. in the cerebral functioning. You get people out of their emotions mm-hmm. to get them to thinking. The thought processes, as a man thinketh, so is he. You know, and so you got us, okay, of course you got us doing the Dunamite drills, well, that's going to affect how we think, and I really push this every week and put up there on the screen how they can get this, okay, because this is going to renew our mind. This is what I believe as a clinician, a licensed clinician, I incorporate this in my therapy with people. And if you're a Christian and you show up with me, we're going to another level. Mm-hmm. And so you can use this to help in the renewing of your mind and getting down in there to formulate and to bring that deliverance of who you really are, whose you are, to get to the core. Listen, look, we just got started because we're coming back next week with Dr. Paula Price. Yeah. See, she's all the way real. She's all the way live. She's here live and in living color. And we love her. And we're going to dive in some more because, you know, everything, if your thoughts are provoked, you said, you know, wow, I really need to start this process. You may decide, you know, the information about how to get in touch with the ministry here. You may decide, I want to go through the 3D. They're trained people that know how to take you through that process. Some of you may decide you want to get a licensed clinician. Go to my website, www.janicepons.com. And you can click on the resource, go to that resource page. There are all kind of options there. You may need a medically supervised detox. You got to decide what you need, but there's help for you. We've already done the research for you. And some, look, even after you go through therapy, you may go through all that and you say, I want to do that last step. I want to do 3D. Listen, it's just going to take you from faith to faith and glory to glory. And you know what also it will do? It's going to take you from destruction to dignity. Listen, y'all better keep coming back. We unpack some stuff. How can we help but not to unpack some stuff? And we got Dr. Paula Price in the house. Y'all come back next week. We love you. We'll see you then.
We are God empowered. Strength is ours. Liberty, been set free. Education, affirmation, dedication, information, revelation. A new nation.